Good morning, children. This is Priya, English teacher from Alpha International CBSE School, Baku. Today we are going to discuss the continuation of chapter 2 of the tsunami lesson. We have already discussed 3 parts in tsunami lesson, right? So now we are going to discuss the poem related to chapter 2. The poem's name is Geography Lesson, which was written by Zulfikar Ghost. And then I think you all remember, children, how Tilly Smith helped all the other tourists in the hotel from the tsunami incident with the help of this geography lesson. Like she recollected what her teacher taught in this lesson, and then she tried to save maximum members who were staying in that tourist hotel during that tsunami incident. So let us also see what is there in this lesson and how it is useful to us in our day-to-day life. Like what is the information we are going to grab today from this poem. Okay, children? Yeah. So next let us look into the contents. What are the contents in this poem? The first thing is introduction. We are going to just discuss a short brief summary. And second one is about author. The author is Zulfikar Ghost. And the third one is poem. Analysis, message, and at last let us end the poem with an activity. Okay, children? So here comes the introductory part. Introduction of the poem is, let me read first. In the poem, Geography Lesson, the poet explains the view of Earth when a jet plane takes off. The Earth's view from a height reveals that the cities grew not as per the plan, but as it became necessary according to the human need. Flying further up, the view makes it clear that the cities grew where the rivers were. The valleys were populated. The poet finds no explanation for building fences and creating boundaries among ourselves. Hatred among human beings is a result of his shallow and narrow thinking, and there is no reason for it. So children, like the introduction means it is a small summary. Like let me give a short brief description regarding the poem. So here the poem is written from the perspective of a person who is observing the city from above. Okay. So seeing it seated in a jet plane, if a person is sitting in a jet plane and looking down and like describing what he is noticing there. So as he ascends the height in the sky, he is able to understand the real meaning of geography. So as the plane took off from the ground and went into the sky, it becomes clear why the city was developed in a certain way. When he is looking from the high, he can notice, and he was thinking like why the city was developed in a certain way. And from certain height, the city started to look similar in sizes too. And a mile was reduced to 6 inches on the scale. But what looked haphazard like and without logic on the ground seemed inevitable and necessary when viewed from the sky. Okay. And when the plane attained 10,000 feet of height, like the logic of geography unrevealed itself. Like the speaker is able to comprehend that it is land and it is water, and that attracted man and habitation. Understood? Like it is the land and water is the thing main which is attracting a human being. And therefore, many of cities developed where the rivers were flowing on the valleys. Like the people started their lifestyle only where the rivers have been flowing. In that way, the life has started to develop. And as the plane attained another 6 miles, it became clear. It became simply clear that what the earth was round and there was more water than the land. So, however, the logic of geography failed to answer one question. What is that one question? Like the speaker was able to understand why people hate each other and why they are killing each other. Even though everything what we need is abundant in the universe, why people started to hate and kill each other? So that is the question which arose in the poet's mind. And then why was there a need to build walls across the cities? Why are they differentiating the cities by building a wall? And even from that height, the causes behind human hatred remain unclear. Whatever the technology developed, whatever we are developing day by day, improvising, maybe the negatives and positives may be there. But the only thing which have never changed from that day to this day is only the hatred among the people. They're hating themselves, the greed, like they're jealous. Everything started like creating a hatredness between the people. So that is what a short description about the poem. Let us read the stanzas and then explain. Like let us read the. I'll read the stanza wise and give explanation so that we can get to the conclusion what the author wants us to know from this poem. Okay. Yes, children. So about author. The author of this poem, geography lesson is Zulfikar Ghosh. He was born on March 13, 1935. He was born in Sialkot, India, and it is now in Pakistan. So he is a novelist, poet and essayist. A native of Pakistan who has long lived in Texas. He writes in the surrealist mode of much Latin American fiction blending fantasy and harsh realism. So Ghosh grew up in a Muslim family in Sialkot in the Punjab province. His father, Khwaja Mohammad Ghosh, was a businessman and moved with the family to Bombay, now Mumbai. So during the Second World War in 1942, after the partition of British India into Pakistan and the present India, Ghosh and his family emigrated to England. He graduated from Keele University in 1959 and taught at Ealing Med School in London. So Zulfikar Ghosh, he was born in Sialkot. So the Sialkot is a place, once it was in India and now it is in Pakistan. He was born on March 13, 1935 and he was a native of Pakistan and who had settled in Texas. Okay, he writes many, like he is a novelist and poet and also essayist. So he is a very good writer. He became a close friend of British experimental writer B.S. Johnson. His name is what? The writer's name is, experimental writer's name is B.S. Johnson from British, okay, with whom he collaborated on several projects and of Anthony Smith. So the three writers met when they served as joint editors of an annual anthology of students' poet called Universities Poetry. So Ghosh also met English poet Ted Hughes and his wife, the American past. So the American poet and novelist Sylvia Plath and American author Janet Burraway, with whom he occasionally collaborated to develop his writing skills. Okay, while teaching and writing in London, he used to teach and also he used to be a writer in London. So Ghosh also freelanced as a sports journalist. He was a very good person in what? Sports. So he was a freelance as a sports journalist and also reporting on cricket for the Observer newspaper. So two collections of his poetry were published. And then the content explores differences between Western and Eastern attitudes and ways of life. So this is a short description about author, and R. Zulfikar Ghosh was born in Sialkot. This is the main thing. He was born in India, but now that place is where? That place is in Pakistan. So he was a novelist, poet and essayist, but he had settled in Texas. He had joined with British poets, and then he started to develop his skills, and now he is a very good writer and also a journalist. So this is the small information which we have collected from internet. Okay, children? Yes. So next, geography lesson. The actual poem comes here, and this is stanza 1. So first let me read the stanza and then give the explanation for you children. Let me start here. When the jet sprang into the sky, it was clear why the city had developed and the way it had. Children, 1 second. Be ready with your pencils. Wherever I ask you to underline, you have to underline that particular word and find the synonym for that particular word in the dictionary, write it and then post it. So it will be your activity. Okay children? So underline it. When the jet sprang into the sky, underline the word sprang. It was clear why the city had developed the way it had. Seeing it scaled, underline the word scaled, scaled 6 inches to the mile. They seemed a inevitability. Underline the word inevitability. About what on ground had looked haphazard. Underline the word haphazard. Unplanned and without style when the jet sprang into the sky. So children, this poem, like this concept is about line sharing. The poet is sharing his perspectives about the city when viewed from the high positions. Okay, like when the plane took off from the ground level to certain height, like said to touch the sky. When it is took off from the ground level, like it seems like it is said to touch the sky, the poet could view the whole city from his view from there, and the whole city is looking like a miniature. Miniature means a small game. From far if we see, it will look very little, right? So when he is looking from the height, the whole city was looking like a miniature. You can see the back side. I have given you the picture also. Notice the picture of the flight, the plane, and look at the buildings down. So how it is looking like clumsy, small like sand particles, right? Like the same way the poet is viewing. Poet is expressing his view that when he is viewing, see, looking from the from such height, the whole city is looking like what? Like miniatures. And an area spread over a mile was like 6 inches, reduced to 6 inches. Scaled 6 inches to mile means when he's traveling higher and higher, the area where like over a miles of, for example, like if it is or 10 miles or 20 miles distance, it is visible, like the poet can visualize that miles of areas like in 6 inches in a scale. Scaled 6 inches means in one scale like 6 inches. It looks some miles of areas seem like 6 inches scaled. So this is what that meaning. And seeing a city in its wholesome perspective. Seeing the city in his wholesome perspective, the poet is able to understand why the city is designed in the way it is. So in his view, the perspective is when he was noticing everything, when the city is looking like clumsy, miniatures and everything like, they seem like inevitability. The poet now understood why the city is why it is seemed to be like that and why it is designed in that way. So what appeared haphazard and unplanned on the ground gained clarity and order when viewed from that height. So when we are traveling on the roads, we can see that road is at the center, and both sides we can see the buildings while we are passing on the road. It looks like as if everything is in order. But while we are viewing the whole city from the high position, from the height, it looks like clumsy and as if not planned. Unplanned means not planned, without any style, without any planning. The people are like they want to get more and more. They're just raising the buildings, companies, everything without any planning. Like how our city, they're not thinking about they're thinking like me, what is there for me, what I'm doing for me. And this resulted in this clumsiness which looks unplanned. The city which looks unplanned, like when the jet sprang into the sky, when they reached at the top, when the poet reached the top, he saw the city in this situation and understood why the city was designed like this. So this is the explanation for paragraph 1. It means stanza 1, children. Okay. Now here comes the second stanza of the poem. When the jet reached 10,000 feet, it was clear why the country had cities where the rivers ran and why the valleys were populated. The logic of geography, that land and water attracted man, was clearly delineated when the jet reached 10,000 feet. Children, now be ready with your pencils. Underline what I am going to tell you. Okay. So when the jet reached 10,000 feet, it was clear why the country had cities where the rivers ran and why the valleys were populated. The logic of geography, that land and water attracted man, was clearly delineated. Delineated, underline ma. And then when the jet reached 10,000 feet. And here also this, like the context of this stanza is like, here the poet feels like he is feeling enlightened. Now he is little bit confident, like he is clear in his mind and he feels enlightened to comprehend the legend, the logic of the geography. So he is able to understand and express the logic of geography, what he understood. Okay. So the explanation comes here for this second stanza. Soon when the plane reached for 10,000 feet in height. So here he is traveling in the plane, right? When it reached 10,000 feet, nearly like touching the sky, in that height, it was not difficult to the poet. The poet was really, he was clear in his mind that like he understood the logic of geography, the way the geographical and territorial spaces were designed for human. Like we humans, we have designed and used these geographical and what that territorial spaces for our convenience. Like he just noticed that it was more populated in those isolated places, not populated in those isolated places, but it was more populated in those places where rivers ran and valleys, and why the valleys were populated. It means we humans are in need of water, and we fixed our minds to settle our houses. Where? To stay near the river beds because we are in need of water, and that water is attracting human being to like what? To increase their greed, like along with river beds, like wherever the rivers ran. Besides, the human population is more. This is what the poet clearly viewed from that height, like he is not able to understand the design or planning of the houses or cities, but he can understand that the geographical need of a human, like where the human are raising their houses, like near the river beds. And then he understood that water and land are essential for human existence, that is the base for human life. And therefore the areas near the, like near the river beds and valleys, we told no, they are maximum, it was populated near the areas of rivers only. And the fact is, the water and land attracted man and were made visible from this height. Like from, by seeing from the height in that plane, we can see clearly, like if we drop a drop of juice or sugar, a pinch of sugar, we can, what we can notice there, like a group of ants or flies accommodating there, like they're coming, we can immediately notice some insects there. In the same way, from while looking from that height, we can see the human population is more near the water beds. So this is what he said, that he is feeling, like he is feeling, feels enlightened to comprehend the logic of the geography, how it attracted, how water and land attracted the humans. So this is the explanation for stanza 2, children. Okay. So here comes the last stanza of this poem. When the jet rose 6 miles high, it was clear the earth was round and that it had more sea than land. But it was difficult to understand that the men on the earth found causes to hate each other, to build walls across cities and to kill. From that height, it was not clear why. Zulfikar goes. So here the poet in this stanza, he clearly shares that mankind should feel shame at not being able to understand the mystery behind cave. They are not why. Like he want to express some views from this stanza, like why human are hating each other. They have to feel shame for their negative intentions. So this stanza is about, like as the plane, now in the second stanza the plane attained 10,000 feet height, right? And here it attains another 6 miles high. The jet plane roses, rose means not ROSE flower, ROSE rose means rise, rose, okay, past tense of rising, rose another 6 miles high. And then from looking from there, it is very clear that he was not able to see the human, he was not able to see the buildings and everything. He can see only the water and land. So he cannot see anything what's happening down on the earth. And then now he was able to clearly understand the geological magic. Like the earth is round and it is filled with water, and maximum of the earth is covered with water than when compared to land, the earth is maximum covered with land. So when attaining such height and seeing, we can see only water and land. We cannot see any boundaries, any humans like height, big buildings, nothing we can see. Then why human are competing with each other? Why both like humans are starting to kill for their greed? And why they are like feeling jealous? Why they are hating each other? When attaining such a level, there is nothing. It's in our earth, the geography, everything is common. The earth is round and only maximum part is covered with water and minimum part is covered with land. This is what our earth. But we humans, we are having a short life, and in that short life, we are trying to fight, hate each other, grab good things, and some human will not like if others seem to be good and wealthy enough, and they started like creating boundaries between the cities and the states also. This is ours, this is yours. Why all these things? This is what even the poet is getting confused, and why to get into such greediness for the land and water when there is nothing for us, nothing belongs to us, and we cannot see anything, whatever our creativity builds, whatever our technology improves, nothing can be seen when we see from such height. Geography was never about borders, never about barriers, and those territorial spaces like differences between the countries, cities, and states, nothing is seen from above. So, man had given that these meanings to geography, and why man did that he just couldn't gather. So, this is what Zulfikar Ghosh want to teach us. Like in the first stanza, when he took off from the when he was took off from the for certain level height, how he can see the city buildings, all those city outskirts like miniatures, and how it is not unplanned, it is not at all designed properly. And in the second stanza, when he attained for 10,000 feet height, he can see what he can see, that maximum like a water covered with a sugar drop covered with maximum of flies or ants. He can see our city like that, wherever the water is there, the population is killed there. More population was there, filled with population only near the river beds. Wherever the river is flowing, along with the flows, the populations are there. So this is what in the second para, and the third stanza, another when he rose another 6 miles high, he can see only the earth as a round, and which is covered with maximum of water and less with land, and he can see no boundaries, no technology buildings, and no borders, and nothing is there. Only the men is there. Men, he can see only the men's mindset greediness, where they are fighting for their land and water or properties and all. So at last there is nothing of no use of all those things, becoming like increasing hatred between each of us. Okay, so this was a message what Zulfikar Ghosh want to give us through these three stanzas of poem. And here is a twist, children. In the beginning, I told you that geography lesson taught something to Tilly Smith. She recollected something from her teacher to save some people in that tsunami incident, right? Did that match this lesson? Anybody got the doubt? Yes. So, there is nothing related to such topic. The geography lesson which Tilly Smith recollected was the social geography lesson. Like her social teacher taught how tsunami occurs, what are the symptoms before tsunami starts. That is the thing what she recollected, and this geography lesson is different. This like expresses in this, the poet expresses, author expresses how human beings are increasing their hatredness, and then like how they are killing each other for their greediness. But when reaching attaining for certain height, there is nothing left for us. The geography is nothing there, only we are attracted to the water and land till our life goes. So this is the thing what we are noticing here. And with this stanza, the three stanzas were over. So let us see what is there into the next slides. Okay. And the message of the poem. The message of the poem is peace. The poet is unhappy with the division of people and their hate for each other. He couldn't understand why they divide the land of earth, though it is done. The poem gives the message of living with each other peacefully. We should have fraternity and brotherhood among ourselves. So here the message from the poem is, children, overall stanza shows us that the author wants to express like we need peace. Peace is the only one message which is explained. Overall what? Stanzas. So here the poet is really unhappy while seeing the hatredness between the people, like They are like maintaining distance between them, like they are dividing the higher class, lower class, superiority, inferior, like we are superior, you are inferior, the caste and the cities, nations, everything, all these divisions. The poet is really unhappy with these divisions, and he couldn't even understand why they are dividing the land also. If their mindset is to show division between the people, let them. But why they are showing this division of land in the name of politics? This is why he couldn't understand why these people are dividing the land of earth also. And even it is done, already divided, right? And this poem gives the message like living with each other peacefully. We have to live with each other peacefully, and we should have brotherhood. We should have that bonding relationship. The relationship should be with a lovable bond like brotherhood. No hatred between the people. This is what the poet wants to convey us through this poem. Okay? Yes. Here comes the analysis part. Okay. The poet describes the view of a city while he travels in a jet. When 10,000 feet, from 10,000 feet from above the ground, the city looks different as if it is a geographical design. The poet describes the view of a city while he travels in a jet. From 10,000 feet above the ground, the city looks different as if it is a geographical design. Some facts are clear to him, but some are unclear. Some disturbing questions come to his mind when he sits in the jet. What are those disturbing things? What are those disturbing questions? Like, if they are hating each other, people, why they are dividing the land also? This is what he was unclear about. That question was the unclear question for the poet. So after this, children, let us look into the activity. Today's activity is read the extract given below and answer the following questions. This is a stanza. This is a small stanza which we have taken from second poem and given to you. From this, we have given some extracted questions. Like 6 questions we have given. 3 are like multiple choice and 3 are like question answer form. The question answer form in the sense you have to frame the answers for those questions. Okay. You have to frame all the questions from this given passage. And with this, poem 2 ends. Chapter 2 lesson. That chapter 2 is what? The tsunami, and the poem is geography lesson. It ends with this session, with this slide. And then I hope you all are staying safe, children. Do your activity very well. I think you all are really following my instructions. I'm really happy to see your day-to-day improvements while correcting your activities. Don't think that you are posting activities and ma'am is not seeing. Regularly, I'm checking your activities, correcting, and even daily I'm putting date, and each and for every student I'm writing your name and mentioning how you are presenting your activities. I have a notebook. Once the school reopens, you can see what I have written by seeing your activities. So don't forget to maintain the presentation skills like writing and paper maintenance, writing maintenance, capital letters, punctuations, and then handwriting space. Okay, children? So with all these things, you have to be clear and you have to take a snap and send in the WhatsApp along with your name. So let me end this session with this. Thanks a lot, children. This is Priya from Alpha International CBSE School, Bahur. Bye.